Welcome back to Everyday Eats with Michelle. Christmas is almost here, and that means it is time to bake some cookies. Whether you call these snowball cookies or Mexican wedding cakes, they are super simple to make, and absolutely everyone is going to love them. Let's get started. First thing you'll need is 2 sticks of softened butter and a half a cup of powdered sugar. We're going to cream those together and make sure you start on low. Start any higher than that, you run the risk of flinging powdered sugar all over your kitchen. So start it on low. Gradually increase it up to about medium speed. Once you see that things are starting to come together nicely, I like to scrape down the bowl, make sure all that powdered sugar has joined the party, and then I'll let it go for about another 60 to 90 seconds or so. We're looking for the butter to be nice and creamy and to have lightened up in color just a little bit. Now we're going to add in a teaspoon of vanilla, and we'll let that go again on about medium speed until it's all incorporated and the butter's nice and creamy. Now we're going to add in our dry ingredients. I've got 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're going to add this in 3 batches, so in thirds. And again, you're going to want to start this on low so you don't toss flour all over your kitchen, and then gradually increase your speed to about medium. When it starts to come together like this, again, I like to scrape down the sides, make sure everything gets nicely incorporated. I'll even kind of poke some of that batter out of the beater just to make sure everything gets nicely combined. Then we'll continue on until all of our flour is incorporated. So I'm going to add about half of this in, and we'll let it go. We'll repeat that same process. Once all of our flour has been combined into our dough, we're going to let it go for about another 60 seconds or so, see how it's coming together nicely. It looks like it's dry, but trust me, it's really not. It's actually a pretty moist batter. So let's get all this wonderful cookie dough batter out of the beater, and then we can start adding in our nuts. So traditionally, people use pecans for this cookie. I'm going to do something a little less traditional with this little quarter of a dough over here. But traditionally, we use pecans. I use walnuts because I'm not a huge fan of pecans. You use whatever nut you like. I've got about a half a cup of chopped up walnuts. Chop them up kind of small so you don't have any like giant chunks in your cookies. And get those all nicely mixed in. I like to add a little bit of a thyme just so I don't have too many nuts in my dough. Once we get that all mixed up, we're going to turn that out onto some cling wrap. We're going to wrap it up in a nice tight little package, and then we'll sit that in the fridge in just a minute. So get this all turned out, smush it together a little bit. This is when, if you notice you've got too many nuts in one section, you can go ahead. I actually ended up picking it up after I wrapped it because I saw there was a bunch of nuts on the bottom. Unwrapped it, squished it together a little better so my nuts are better distributive. Whatever you got to do. Now, for that other quarter of my dough, I'm going to add some cranberries. Took about a handful of cranberries, a small handful, chopped them up pretty small, and I'm going to put those in my dough. May seem a little weird, but I felt like it would be a nice flavor combination with this dough, with this cookie, and it seemed like it would add a nice chewy texture. So we'll get those combined into our dough, same kind of thing. Dump them out into our cling wrap, wrap them up into a nice tight little package, and then you're going to put those in the fridge for at least a half an hour. It can go longer. You can leave them in there overnight if you want, but you got to do it for at least a half an hour. Once it's nice and chilled, we can start forming our little snowballs. So on a rimmed baking sheet, you don't need any foil or parchment paper or anything, just don't grease the pan. We're going to form these into about 1-inch balls. A little bigger, a little smaller, not a big deal. Just don't make them too big or too small. It's going to affect your cooking time. So once we have our cookies all laid out on our pan, I've got my walnuts on my right, my cranberries on my left. We're going to pop these into a 350-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. I usually check them at the 10-minute mark just to make sure I'm not burning them. Then, when they come out of the oven and they're still nice and toasty, they're going to go for their first roll in the snow, powdered sugar. It's going to look like, you're going to think, oh my gosh, it's not sticking, but it is. Think about it. My cookies are nice and warm, so that really fine powdered sugar is being absorbed into my cookie, which is a beautiful thing. So don't worry if it's like, oh my gosh, they're not looking like snowballs. It's okay. Because once we have them fully cooled on our wire racks, they're going to go for another roll in the snow. And they're going to come out looking like the beautiful, perfect snowball cookies that we want them to be. I mean, look at this. That's perfect. That's all there is to do. Give them their second roll in the snow and that's it. They're done. All that's left to do is eat them and, share them with friends and family. What's your favorite Christmas cookie? Drop us a comment down below. Let us know. Let us know if you tried these with the cranberries and what you thought of those. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week where we just might have Another fantastic Christmas dessert for you. See you next time.